Hey guys, a couple things I want to let you know before we start the show with Dr. Richard Massey, episode 580. One quick announcement is that, I don't know if you guys know this, but we are live now. So we're doing our shows live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10:45 a.m. Pacific time. So if you want to catch the live show and join the chat and join the community and ask your questions and listen and participate and actually watch the show happen in real time, you can do that at extremehealthradio.com, and there's details for that right on the front page of extremehealthradio.com. And I wanted to also let you know that this show with Dr. Richard Massey is brought to you by the Extreme Health Academy. And the Extreme Health Academy is an amazing place for you to take your health to the next level. If you're dealing with any kind of chronic disease or chronic health challenge you're trying to get on top of and you just haven't figured out the exact method or protocol or biohack or spiritual insight or whatever it is to get on top of it, we are talking about that inside the members area of Extreme Health Academy. Now, this is for people who are very, very serious about their health. So it's not for people that are just sort of dabbling and kind of messing around. This is for people who really want to take their health to new levels or overcome any kind of health challenge. Or maybe you just want to live to your 150 years old like I do in a strong, healthy body that has very high hormones and lots of energy, can sleep and have sex and have a good hormonal balance and all of that stuff. If that's your goal, this is what the Extreme Health Academy is all about. So if you want to learn more about it, go to extremehealthacademy.com. This is, again, for serious people only, extremehealthacademy.com. And if you enter the code EHR14, you'll get a free 14-day trial to check it out and introduce yourself to the thousands of other members in the community and take part of everything that we have going on inside the extremehealthacademy.com.
Hey.
Hello, Rich. How are you?
Doing okay.
What's that?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Doing great. I like the blue blocking glasses.
Yeah.
I love it. That's so cool. So what are you up to today?
You know, just little stuff, swimming in the creek, eating.
Yeah.
Stuff. Yeah, let me close the door here.
Yeah, no worries.
All right.
I noticed
and
that
yourself, what are you up to?
We are just doing the pregnancy thing. You know, Kate's about 7 months along.
Oh my goodness.
With the twins, and she's having a really rough pregnancy, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, really, really rough. But we're doing that, and tomorrow we're going to there's a medical doctor. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him in LA that does home births. So we're working with him, and tomorrow. Yeah. I know, it's cool. So tomorrow we're going to be going up to see him in LA. So that's good.
Very good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Kate is going to be on the show, but she's lollygagging around here right now. She's
Is really lollygagging?
Yeah, she's.
I tell you what, huh?
She's lollygagging.
Well, good. I guess she earned it. You know, she's eating for 3 and sleeping for 3, and
I know, right?
Yeah.
We have her on the Intramax, so that's a good thing.
Okay.
Yeah, but she's only doing about an ounce a day, I'd say. So that's pretty good.
Yeah. And the trouble with the pregnancy, or you may or may not want to talk about that. I don't know. We can talk another time if you want. Like, what's tough about it, or what feels bad about it?
Oh yeah, no, it's no worries. She has so she's got the twins, and she's got a third entity that's playing a role here. A big 9-centimeter fibroid, and that's the real issue. So,
Whoa.
Yeah, so it sticks up, and it's on the wall of the uterus. So it's like subserosal, Kate, fundal.
Okay.
Is that right? And so it's 9 centimeters beyond.
Hey, Dr. Massey.
Well, okay. Wow. Hearing stories about your body.
Oh, brother. It's shocked us all. I mean, I knew I had it, but man, that thing is painful. Oh, man.
Yes. Well, treat yourself gingerly.
Oh, thank you. I'm trying. There's no grace I keep saying I'm like just fumbling like through this pregnancy. I haven't done it very gracefully, but it's okay. The best laid plans, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that how real life is?
Yep. Right. How are you doing?
It all sounds great in a lecture or a talk, and then it's kind of messier.
Yeah.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That is so true.
It is true. Hey, you have twins too, don't you?
Yeah. Doc has twins.
Yes. Non-identical girls.
Non-identical. Wow. And were they born regular, like in a hospital, or was it?
Yeah. I was a medical student at the time.
Okay.
And yeah, they were a surprise conception.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think God was surprised, but I was. And I joke about it. People, I don't know if we're on the air or not. If we are, that's fine. Okay. At awakeninghealth.com, in one of the talks, I mentioned it, that it was one of those things. It was 5 days after Gail's period. Sex tonight, and so that's a mathematical misunderstanding apparently on my part. Word two in there, and
Jeez.
The consequences of that for my children is that neither one of them could do math. And so
apparently ours won't either.
So just to let y'all know, if you know that kind of thing, you can stand over their bed when they're sleeping and tell them, hey, it was Dad that didn't understand math. And you were supposed to get programmed that way, so you're free to do math now and leave the math struggles with your father. And Jobert has done this with lots of kids, and they start being able to do math within a week.
No way.
Yeah.
Gosh, this stuff runs so deep.
It does run so deep. It's so interesting.
I mean, we laugh. There's some reality to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I tell you though,
That's
to really
funny.
know your body is a big. Just to know your physiology of how your body works is a big deal.
Yeah,
Let
yeah.
alone, like having to compile all the emotional and mental stuff. And,
That's crazy.
well, you got your twins, and we'll get ours, and it's all good.
Like keep up now. So if you're at 7 months,
Yeah.
like if a big crisis happens at 7 months and it doesn't get reprogrammed by talking to the kids while they sleep, then every 7 years the kids will try to solve that problem for y'all.
Huh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And so at 7 and 14 and 21 and 28 and 35, they'll have these strange ideas overtake them that they need to solve your crisis, some version of your crisis, and they project it onto their environment and the people that they're with, and they think it's real.
So what would be like a good example of that? Like what would be something that you've seen?
Yeah. So like you guys have a big argument and Justin says, well, I'm out of here. He takes off for a week. Kate's all thinking, oh my gosh, I've been abandoned.
No, I think I have time to clean the house.
A man here, all this stress, right? So the baby's jobs are to carry the stress of the parents so that they can function. Because see, biology has a huge investment in you two, like numerous decades, years, and all that stuff, right? It has almost no investment in babies, right? So you can always make new babies, but there's a huge investment in the adults. That's how biology sees it. So the baby's jobs are to carry the stress of the parents so that they can function and take care of the babies.
So the parents can function.
Yes. They're actually an extra subconscious brain where we can stuff feelings that we don't want to feel.
Oh, as parents, we can do that. That's interesting.
It happens automatically. You can't stop it. It's going to happen. And so after the kids are born, you just look and see if they have anything that's really challenging. And if they do, you go, yeah, that's mine. So you tell them that when they're sleeping. and then they're not that way anymore. Wow. So that's kind of how that works. So Justin takes off for a week, but then he comes to his senses and he comes back. Oh, Kate, I love you. I want to be here. La, la, la. Okay. But the kids have already taken on this stress. And so at 7 years old, unless you tell them about this event while they're sleeping, take it off of them. At 7 years old, they're going to project a huge separation event onto the people that they're with.
Now that is if this event happens at 7 months, is that right?
That happens at 7 months. Every 7 years, they're going to project a huge separation event, like with their best friend at school or with their teacher or something like that, and create a huge drama around it and try to solve it. It's almost like it's a way of trying to prevent the argument that happened at 7 months.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
And it won't make any sense to them. And of course it won't work. It'll be a lot of suffering psychologically, and then it'll kind of clear up, and it'll come back at 14 with our first puppy love or whatever. Mm-hmm. And the kids will reenact it there. And they wonder why there's such angst with this. Oh, it hurts to be in love. No, mom and dad had a fight at 7 months in the pregnancy. You don't know about it. And there was a lot of pain there. And you're feeling that pain. You're not feeling your pain. So it really helps them to know that.
So an example that you just gave that was really great. If you were to talk to them about the event while they're sleeping, I mean, is there an age that's too young to do that? Or is it like the littler the better when they're babies?
Yeah, the younger the better. As soon as you realize that they're carrying something. So I can tell you another one. There was a guy who cheated on his wife during the pregnancy. And the baby was born with an inguinal hernia. Inguinal hernia says don't spread your legs apart.
Interesting.
Right? So the baby's carrying the pain of the cheating. When the parents got together and decided they were going to stay together, they talked it over the baby's crib while they were sleeping. The hernia almost completely disappeared.
How long did it take for that to happen?
About a week.
About a week. And did they do it every night for a week, or did they just do this event once?
Just that once. You just do the reprogramming thing once, and you clear the issue yourself, and you tell them that you're going to carry it. You make sure all of your emotions are clear, that you're not going to reinsert the chip, that you really have made a decision. You know that your course of action is going to be different. And you say it like that, very factually. I have a form that Jobert gave me that is really good for that, and I can send you that form. It's called Working with a Child, and it's very valuable. And you can do that up until puberty. You can talk over their bed while they're asleep.
Now, how important do you think it is to speak to the baby when they're in the womb? I'm sure it's really important as well, right?
Oh, I think it is. I think it's really important, and to do wonderful, loving things. You know, love covers a multitude of sins in the old Bible language. So, you know, any kind of connecting is great.
Yeah, because we're trying to do that now with, because you know how, I mean, as you know, twins, you know, many times come early. And if they come too early and you're, you know, in a hospital or a medical, you know, situation, a lot of times they'll take the kids and put them in an incubator until, you know, the time. And so we're trying to avoid all that. And so we're trying to talk to the kids and say, come on, you know, you guys
stay in there.
Stay in there, you know.
Got to bake a little longer and then the world will be ready for you.
That's right.
Good.
That's interesting that you wrote your kids those cards. How did you? It seems like there's so much to remember if you're not recording and journaling as you go along. I mean, that's a while back to recall that stuff. How did you come across that? I mean, in the recesses of your brain, or did you journal and keep ideas of timelines of things, or how did that work?
Yeah. Thanks. That's a good observation there, Kate. I decided once I learned the recall healing stuff and saw how that all of our survival programs are downloaded into our brain by the time we're 1 year old.
Wow.
So all that stuff is happening right now for your twins, and they're being downloaded with what happened in the last 3 generations of y'all's families. 'Cause that's what's in you. And it's all unconscious, unless you know some of the stories. And so over time, it's like the memory comes back. If the person decides they want to remember something and they really journal or make a commitment, memories start coming back. Things I thought I would never remember. And it's a tender, sweet kind of thing, you know.
I wonder if hypnosis could help with the memories.
I definitely think it can. Mm-hmm.
What do you think of things that Justin had a weird thing about maybe 6 months or a year ago where you woke up, it was like you had a weird situation.
Oh, yeah.
Where you woke up in like theta state or something and you had a feeling about something that you thought maybe happened to your mom that came out of nowhere.
Oh, right.
And it's like, I know those moments are so powerful and so illuminating, but you also wonder if you can trust them when it just pops in your brain and you go, why in the world would I think that would be a part of my mom's story? I mean, do you think there's some validity to stuff like that comes out of seemingly nowhere?
I love that. And I love the way you say that, seemingly nowhere. Isn't that amazing when stuff seemingly comes out of nowhere?
Yeah, it's so interesting.
Yeah, what is that? I know. That's what we think, but it's so odd. I mean, these thoughts just go bam, and you're like, what the heck?
Yeah.
But I like those thoughts because they're so weird.
Yes. And so when it's a disturbing out of nowhere thing or a disorienting out of nowhere thing, I sit with people and do their timelines. And so if that happens at age 30, I kind of want to know what happened at age 15 and 7.5. We go into halves and we ask what was going on in the person's life then, because the brain repeats things in doubles. So we look there. If nothing comes up, then we look at the person's autonomy timeline and see if the story comes up there. And if not, we look in the family tree.
What's the autonomy timeline? What is that?
So, all right. So let me just ask you here. We can kind of do one. And, you know, if they go on awakeninghealth.com, when they look at the one I do at Anne's house, I think it's actually called Family Biology. And I learned these from Jobert Renaud. So give Jobert full credit here for this. In this amazing stuff. Okay. So Justin, how old were you when you were first independent from your parents?
Yeah. When did you move out?
Oh, moving out.
You were a bit older.
20, yeah, I was 20.
So you traveled
24.
Okay. And do you remember like what time of year it was? Like, was it 24 and a half, 24 and 4 months, 24 and...
That's a good question. Because did I take
Wait
my
a
trip?
minute. You were 25 when you took your trip, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So you moved out right when you got home. Let me think.
September. Yeah. So
you were almost 26.
26 probably.
So September, you got home, you moved out September when you were 25, and then you turned 26 that December.
Right.
So
okay.
You were 3 months away.
So
from
it's like 25 and 10 months?
Yeah.
Yes.
So 25 and 10 months. And how young are you now?
I am 42.
All right. So you're 42 now. So here's an interesting thing. On the first day you moved out, like at 25 and 10 months, how did you feel?
Oh, I felt great. Yeah, I felt amazing.
Okay.
But then again,
do you know any stories about your birth? Did your mother tell you any?
No. Well, I was born a twin myself, and my twin didn't make it. I assume I was born in a hospital. I'm pretty sure I was. And that's about all I know.
I know that you were an epidural.
Oh, was I?
And you were not breastfed.
Oh, okay.
Wow. See, the girls are the best recall healing people.
Well, we talk to the women when we're going through it.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I just found all this out. It's helpful, though.
Keep up with all that. And so what happened with your twin, Justin?
He was born, he had died, I think, a couple months before?
It was maybe a month.
A month before we were born.
Mm-hmm.
And I was larger. I don't think, was there any like umbilical cord issue or?
Mm-mm.
I think he was just stillborn. And my mom thinks that she smoked all during her pregnancy with me. And she carries a lot of guilt around that. I know that.
And she drank, I think, socially.
Did she drink? Yeah, she's not much of a drinker, but I'm sure she
did smoke a lot.
Yeah, she smoked quite a bit, and I think she has a lot of guilt for that. And I was much larger, and he was much smaller.
And so, did they know that at the time of your delivery?
Yes. I think she knew before that he had died. Is that right?
Right.
Okay.
So she knew she'd have to deliver one live baby and one not live baby.
Okay, so it wasn't at the time of birth?
No.
She told you that?
Yeah.
Okay. And did she have drugs or anything at the delivery?
I'm sure.
Pain meds?
Yeah, she had epidural, and I'm sure she had other drugs as well, because it was 1975, and,
Yeah.
Nobody knew. She didn't know.
Yeah. I feel something intense when you talk about that. And oh man. That's powerful stuff. And so the thought is that this twin died about a month before you were born.
Mm-hmm.
And were you born at 9 months?
I think I was. I'm pretty sure I was, yeah.
I think really close to that.
That's right.
Okay. So we're thinking that this twin died at 8 months.
I would say
7 or 8.
7 or 8, probably 8, I would imagine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we look at that, the thing that passes to you is the deep secret feeling of your mother.
Mm.
Mm.
If she's able to speak all of this out, all of her pain over this, if she's able to get all of that out from her heart, then you don't have to carry that part for her. But if she's like me, and when that kind of pain comes up, I really want to stuff it and just keep functioning,
mm-hmm.
then you have to carry that for her. Whatever that deep secret feeling that she concludes about the world, about the universe, is the universe a friendly place or not? What's going on in her deep secret self?
Mm.
And you will carry that for her so that she can function. And that will show up in your life every 8 years.
Well, that's interesting, because in the third cycle of that, I would have been 24, which is pretty much, 3 cycles of 8 when I was, when I moved out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And, I would encourage you to do some sort of ceremony about your twin. Was it a boy, a girl?
It was a boy.
Do you know?
Yeah,
okay.
Baby brother.
Yeah, about your brother. You may have already done something like that. So those are, I've seen people who constantly feel like there's something missing in their life, and it's their twin. And when they find a way to have a heart conversation with this twin, that feeling that something is missing goes away.
That's interesting. So what would be an example of a ceremony that I could do for him?
There are so many, and I only know a few of those. The family constellation ceremony would certainly be one. and I'm sure there are facilitators where y'all live. Mm-hmm. And of course, here's the caveat here. If you're happy, don't do it. If you're happy, everything's okay. The only people I would work with is if somebody says, I've just always had this feeling that I'm not fulfilled. No matter what I do, it just doesn't feel satisfying to me. Something's missing. Okay. That's a person to work with. I wouldn't walk up to somebody who's feeling great and they're in the flow and go, by the way, you should do this big ceremony and stir some things up,
Right.
Mess with your life. So
you do wonder that. Yeah. I'm interested though, like you have to be honest with yourself because it might seem like Justin seems like he's fine, but it is funny. I don't mean to throw you under the bus, but it is funny. Like whenever we go up to Huntington Beach, when we get our chiropractic, a few times I've said, hey, I know right there is the cemetery where your baby brother was buried. I said, we should go visit sometime. And you've never wanted to visit. So I don't know if that's just like you really don't have a desire to and you're fine, or is that go deeper of like, I don't know.
It's weird
because you seem fine, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's really odd because I feel fine about it. Like I understand that that's what happened, and my mom, feels a lot of guilt, and I've told her like I don't like back then when because I think she puts a lot of stock into the smoking thing, and she really thinks that caused it, and. I've told her, it's okay. Like, it's back then nobody knew better. It's okay. Like, this happened and it's okay. There's no guilt or anything. And so I feel fine. I don't really have I feel like happy. My life's going in a great direction. We're together. We have an amazing relationship.
Yeah.
I do feel like some weird connection though with these twins. I wonder, you and I have joked, I wonder if these twins is one of my, my brothers coming or my brother coming back, So I don't know.
So, yeah. So one of the things that I would think about here is what would it be like to go out there to the cemetery or just for yourselves and tell the twins that they don't have to carry any unfinished business from you and your brother.
Oh, okay. So Kate and I could go do that at the cemetery. That's a good idea.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, and see if that feels good to you. It sounds like it does just from your response, and and just and tell them that if we notice that you're tangled in it after you're born, we'll do something about that. So we're not going to panic about it. We just want to convey every chance for you to live a full and free life.
It's challenging, Doc, to bring kids into the world and not create any of these emotional charges and these events, because I feel like, Kate, you and I have had, in terms of like volatility or arguments, I think I can think of once times. Or twice in 15 years that we've been married that we've even had an argument.
Yeah,
like we get along great. Right. Everything is smooth. And even though we've been incredibly stressed at times, we've never disagreed about anything, and we're always just generally happy. And so, but with that said, how could we even do better? I wonder, like, how do you create, because to not feel anything is almost not human. It's like you got to have feelings and emotions and things.
Oh yeah. And that's important. And parents can have really intense feelings as long as they're honest and expressive about them. The babies don't carry any of that. It's the part that we don't say that they carry.
Oh, okay. And is that what you talk about, the autonomic nervous system?
Yeah, it goes into the baby's autonomic nervous system. So, in another family where the male was verbally violent with the spouse while she was pregnant, and they drew the line. She drew the line. She said, you can yell, but if you ever hit me, I'm leaving. So in biology, the baby's job is to keep the parents together and functional. So when this baby was born, it was born with an eye that turned inward.
Hmm.
An eye that turned inward is focusing on something close. What the baby was trying to do was be an answer to the family. I'll keep an eye on his hand, Mom. And if the hand starts to come toward you like you're going to get hit, I can warn you because I'm focusing on what's up close.
Wow.
Wow, that's so crazy because you would never think that, but that makes so much sense.
It does. It's the baby's job in their biology to be a living answer for what threatened to separate the parents or make them dysfunctional.
And also, it sounds like what babies or children do is carry the burden and the stresses of their parents.
Well,
as well, right?
I think I have an example of that. Dr. Massey, tell me if this is correct or not, but so Justin, you have 8-year cycles, is that right?
I think so, yeah.
So if Justin was 16, I believe you were about that when you were playing basketball in high school, and they found a heart issue with you.
Oh, that's right.
And he would collapse and things while he was playing, and I thought, is that his subconscious way of trying to carry a broken heart for his mom?
Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy.
Yeah, and that's when it came out. So I'm wondering, is that an example of a child trying to mend like a broken heart of sorts?
So if it's a hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, that's a heart that's trying to beat for 2.
Look at that.
No
'cause that's
way.
why they have, isn't that caused by, at least technically they say that the walls of the heart are too thick? Is that kind of what's
the
going
lining
on?
maybe?
Right, so that you could pump enough to keep your brother alive.
Oh, wow.
Well,
Wow.
that's intense.
Yeah, and because if you do that, then that takes the stress off your parents.
Wow.
Well, there you go.
That's interesting. So that was about 16 when that happened.
Well, there you go.
It was actually about 15 and a half or so because that was before I transferred schools. So maybe my brother died not at 8 months, but like 7.5 months or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You can track it backwards like that.
Wow.
Holy mackerel. This stuff's interesting.
It is. So we can do this with everybody as long as people, the issue, unless people really go and get silent with themselves and go within, it's challenging for just the average person to remember the days and the years and the times that things happen. How do you work with people in that way?
Yeah, so that's one of the beauties of family constellations. So you take a child who's been adopted and has no connection, no memory consciously of their family. You can set up a family constellation and at least make the energies balanced and happy just by having someone stand in for the biological father and the biological mother, things like that.
And so you may not be able to get specifics in terms of events or dates, but you can correct the family energies.
Yes. So I was at the National Institutes of Health back in 2000 when Bert Hellinger was doing a presentation on constellations and cancer. And the people who were the heads of public health, they were a married couple, they had just adopted a little Korean child. And this little Korean child would not look in their eyes. And so she asked Bert Hellinger about that. So he had us stand up in 2 lines. One line was started with the baby's biological parents, aunts and uncles, grandparents, great-grandparents, and the other line was the adopted families. And the mother simply took the baby in her arms and bowed to each of these people in both lines and let the baby see her pay respects. By the time she got to the end of the line, the baby was looking right in her eyes for the first time.
Wow.
I mean, it was very touching, very moving for everybody who was there to see that.
So I've heard you talk about like honoring your honoring those that have come before you and blessing those that come after you. Did I get that right?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
so
you did.
I think
That's how the energy flows in families, and we get our biology from families.
Mm-hmm. So our biology comes from family, but the energetics is something that, does that also come from the family, or?
There is an energy field that holds families together, much like schools of fish, how they all turn at the same time. And flocks of birds in the air, they all turn and move at the same time. That's an energy field that holds those beings together. Well, families are held together in the same way. And some of those energy fields are really easy to be in. We can be healthy and prosperous and all that in those energy fields. Some energy fields are not easy to be in. And so those are the folks that we work with, the people who are struggling. They can't ever be successful. They can't stay in a relationship. They have physical health issues in their body. And often we see these so-called illnesses just kind of disappear.
Yeah, I know you've shared so many different examples of this, and we've had Dr. Renaud on the show, as well as the fellow from Tyler, Texas. What is his name? I forget what his name was, but yeah, so there's a lot of amazing, and Michelle Schrader.
Yeah, thanks to Dr. Massey.
Yeah, and so there's all kinds of incredible stories of people reversing diseases, and it seems to me that, I know Meridian lately has been very much into the work of Dr. Jack Kruse, and as have I, and getting into the sort of the physics of health, where, a lot of people focus on the biology and what you eat and the physical food and all of that. And then there's the physics side of it, which is more about atoms and light and electrons and protons. And that's kind of like in between the spiritual, in my estimation, in between the spiritual and the physical. But then I think you have a higher up level than what Dr. Kruse is talking about in Meridian with the light and the photons and things. I think it's the spiritual that controls that stuff. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. A lot of times I just kind of feel like Helen Keller. I'm just trying to figure out the sign for another cookie.
Yeah.
Not quite sure how all this works.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, isn't it? I remember when we went to the near-death experience conference at the end of March here, I loved what one person said. They said, life is a gift. It is not a test. In the case of an actual test, a clear instruction manual will be distributed to everyone.
I love that. That's great.
Ain't that the truth? That's pretty good.
That's funny.
Gosh, isn't that the truth, though?
Yeah.
What do you What do you think about people? Well, I'll use myself as an example. People like me who struggle with a fibroid for 15 years and done a lot of inner work and a lot of prayer and a lot of healing and, also the physical, things to try to deal with it. And yet you still have this issue. What do you think? Do you think some things are just meant to be teachers and they're a part of a bigger plan? Or is it that you haven't found that puzzle piece that quite fits the healing yet?
That's a deep question.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a good one.
That's a hard one.
Good one. So I'll tell you in the world of recall healing, what people have seen, if the fibroid is has some of the uterine muscle tissue in it, then that's about someone in the family tree whose uterus wasn't strong enough to deliver a baby.
Oh, that's my mom, but yeah.
Oh, did that happen?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. So we have a conversation about that, and we talk to mom. And was it with you or with a sibling?
It was I have a sister that's older, and then there was a brother that she miscarried at 5 months between me and her. So it would have been my older brother.
Okay.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if somebody holds that inside themselves, like, my uterus wasn't up for it, then the next child has to be the answer for that suffering if she doesn't process that, right?
Right. How, because I've been aware of that, and she's been aware of it, and we've talked it, a little bit, but how do you go about helping that situation with somebody who might not want to go there or can only go so deep, it's like.
Sure. So the deal is you're the living answer. You come along and now you're inside her womb. What do you think she's thinking about when you're in there?
Well, everything's fear holding on to this baby.
You got it. You got it. Everything is fear. And she's thinking about, oh my gosh. And people don't even want to speak that stuff like it might be a jinx or something.
Right.
So it's held inside most of the time.
Yeah.
Okay. So when it's held inside and you're the one inside, you carry it.
Yeah.
For her out of loyalty. Right? You have a loyalty to the family. You're carrying that to save your mother from this stress. What does she need? She needs a super uterus. So your brain, when you get pregnant, makes you a super uterus.
So it's a uterus with a fibroid that's even stronger.
Yeah, a turbo uterus.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Gosh.
And that's your brain's best answer for what made her suffer. If she had had a turbo uterus, your brother wouldn't have miscarried. That's how that got programmed in y'all's family.
So now knowing this, what would you do, Kate? What do you...
Well, it's funny because that's where I get a little bit thrown off because I've done what I thought is the best I could do with, prayer and healing and writing and letters and even, releasing and, there's been all kinds of things I've done. And yet it's so funny. This thing just still causes me all this grief. So in my mind, it's hard when you feel like you know this stuff and you let it go and you release it, yet your body still holds it.
So
I don't know.
So the first step is gratitude for the whole mechanism. And we express gratitude that we were able to carry something that saved our mother's life and kept her functional. So we say, thank you, automatic brain. Thank you, fibroid. Thank you, Mom, for giving me birth and being my mom, just the way you are with all the stress you had. Thank you. And if I don't feel grateful, I say, I wish I were more grateful for all this. Even though I'm not, I wish I were more grateful for all this. And we say that like a mantra, and it actually creates gratitude, strangely.
I could see that.
Yeah. And so that's the real thing, is to connect with the love underneath it. That this is actually a love message with you and your mom and your brother. And doing a ceremony with your brother. Seems like that would be huge to me.
I find this really interesting that now that we're talking about it, that we both lost brothers and yet we're getting 2 boys back.
Yeah, I never thought of that.
It's kind of interesting.
I mean, mine was a twin, so I kind of figured that.
And I never really thought about my miscarried brother. This is interesting.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And you have the fibroid along with you. Kind of, it's almost like your biology says it really would like for you to look at this now.
Wow. Dr. Massey, that's pretty deep.
It's interesting because on a physical level, we say, well, you took birth control and you were
exposed to all these chemicals,
antibiotics and chemicals in the salon and all of these xenoestrogens and things. But I mean, something's running all of that,
Yeah. Yeah. Because you can expose a lot of people to those things and they don't get fibroids.
I remember the first time I went to a healing room at a church and they called me in and they pray over the room before you come in to kind of get this, like whatever download God might have for you. They said right away, we know why you're here. It's your mom's fear you've been carrying.
Oh, wow.
And I remember thinking that was so heavy. And I thought, what am I carrying? Like, where is this carrying? And they said, they're like, it's something in your uterus or that's what that fibroid is, this ball of fear. And this was like 15 years ago. And that's the first time I had ever
put a connection
thought
together.
of it. Yeah. It's pretty powerful.
Wow.
Yeah. And so when we look at our parents, we can look at our mom in this case, and we can just tell her from our heart, thank you for being my mom. Thank you for carrying me in your womb and giving birth to me. And you're the only right mother for me. And I take this gift of life that comes through you at the full price it cost you, and at the full price it cost me.
So that would be something you could do, or Kate could do in private, or would it be more powerful for her to do that?
Sure. And you can find those kind of movements in family constellation books, and there are ways you can do it at home. Some of the facilitators work over the phone, just like with recall healing. It could be a very brief and very tender sort of moment for you. You're probably feeling some of it now. Yeah, because there's a lot of love in your family. Your mom didn't say, oh, because this happened, I'm going to quit.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Wow.
She showed real courage. Both your parents did. And so to honor that courage, and to honor that even though she was afraid, she went on,
That's
and she was your mother. And those are the things, we don't want those things to go unnoticed.
And I think they have. I think you just hit the nail on the head. I feel like it's been more of a blame of why did she put all this fear onto us?
Oh, right. And I never looked at it from that perspective.
I have never.
Because I looked at it from the perspective of, well, since that happened before you were born, Kate, then of course you would have fear regarding you. But I never looked at it from the perspective of, wow, even though this happened, she's going to still continue to try.
Right.
And that shows a level of bravery.
And courage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I've never, ever thought about that like that before.
Yeah, you're welcome. And, and we can say to mom, I take all these wonderful gifts from you, this courage, this love. I take these gifts and I now leave the fear with you. I'm too small to carry it. This is a big fear for a big person. And in biology, our parents are the big people. And so we leave that fear with them because it belongs with them. And interestingly, it actually has a strengthening effect on the family to do that. We think in our mind, oh, this is a bad thing. I'm leaving a fear with my mother. And it's just the opposite. When we do family constellations and people leave the fear like that with their parents or grandparents, it actually strengthens the entire family.
So we're talking with this kind of work, there is no bounds of time or death or anything like that. So people that are listening don't have to go, oh, shoot, my grandparents are both passed and I can't do this kind of work still, right? Right,
exactly. That's a good point. And I was raised kind of a Bible thumper Southern Baptist kid in Beaumont, Texas. And, it helped me one day to realize that the fifth commandment says, honor your parents. The original version says honor everyone who has an earlier birthday than you, especially your mother and father, and you're promised wellness, long life, and land ownership. Those three things. And it doesn't say honor them only if they're still alive.
You're right. Yeah, you're so right.
Yeah, that's fascinating. There's something I find to be powerful too, and I'm sure people listening to this when it becomes a podcast will agree. And that is like how you talk to people, and this is something I need to work at. Both of us need to
You
work
have
at.
stuff to work on?
Oh my gosh.
I thought you were perfect.
Yeah, far from that.
I'm totally kidding. I'm talking about myself.
Testosterone level just went up. That was good.
Oh, man.
I'm too kidding.
But there's something powerful about speaking in public about somebody that you love in the third person when they're not there. Mm-hmm. Like let's say we're in a room, Kate, and I was hanging out with 5 other guys and we were just talking or something, and every one of those guys was talking about how horrible their marriage was or something. And then I start talking about how much I love you and how great of a relationship we have. And I don't know what you guys are talking about. I have a great relationship, and, Kate is amazing. And if you walked up not knowing that I was talking about that you to them, there's something powerful about that. And I have to think that the same would be true whether our parents are alive or dead. But if we do it in public, and then there's probably something also powerful if we disparage our parents even in private conversations with our spouses or something.
Oh.
There's got to be something to that, don't you think, Doc?
It sure looks that way. And, when Bert Hellinger would talk about it, he would say that the only people who are qualified in biology to criticize my parents are their parents.
Oh, I see.
So the grandparents, it's their job to evaluate, what's going on with their kids and make adjustments and things like that.
Right.
So if I start talking like that, then I'm trying to put myself in the grandparent position.
Okay. So you're jumping up 2 generations.
Yeah. And it really disturbs the whole system.
I bet.
When I do that,
Yeah, that is fascinating. Hey, Doc, I became ill-prepared for this particular show, and what happened was the little recorder that we are recording this on has filled up, and can we call you back in about 5 minutes and pick up right where we left off?
Sure, that's fine.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, how much more time do you have? Because this is so interesting. How much more time do you have?
No, I don't really have much going on, so we'll just talk till we get tired, I guess.
Okay. I love it.
So you can offload something and then we'll call
I just
back?
need to
Okay.
offload some of these files and then I can call you right back.
Bummer. Okay.
I know, it's so good.
Sounds good.
We'll call you
Bathroom
right
break.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Doc.
Uh-huh.
The history of heat therapy dates back over 2,400 years, and it was Hippocrates who said, "Give me the power to produce fever, and I will cure all disease." This FDA-approved medical device called the Biomat is a mat that you can lay on, read on, sleep on, do yoga on, sit on, and it can be used on office chairs, massage tables, and the like to help the body heal itself. It's inlaid with 30 pounds of healing crystals using amethyst and a rare black tourmaline, producing negative ions in a healing electrical field. These healing crystals help to restore cellular health by replacing electrons to the atoms, as well as penetrating deep into the body by 4 to 6 inches. What can the Biomat do for you? It'll improve your skin, burns as many calories as if you went jogging for 30 minutes. It improves the immune system by up to 40% or more, reduces stress and fatigue, removes toxins, lowers cholesterol, relieves pain, revitalizes cellular metabolism. It improves cell channels to deliver nutrients and oxygen to every one of your cells. It activates over 3,000 enzymes. And even a Harvard medical study showed cancer cells die at over 42 degrees Celsius. It reduces stress hormones by up to 78%. It allows your body to produce heat shock proteins, which increases endorphins, NK cells, T cells, and lymphocytes. It's very, very low EMF, and it's got a 17-layer technology. Dr. Mark Serkis is the director of the International Medical Veritas Association. Explain to us more about these biomats.
These biomats are these far infrared mattresses. You lay on them, or you sleep on them, or both. You do very heavy treatments during the day, and at night you sleep at just a nice comfortable temperature. These biomats are like these love machines, comfort machines, and healing machines, because what they do is they just radiate out light, far infrared light, and you can radiate yourself all night long while you're sleeping when you're not doing anything else. And what happens is this light penetrates the body and turns to heat. And the first thing that happens when you bring your core body temperature up 1 degree is your immune system strength increases by 40-50%. They feel when you lay down on them, you guys know, you have one. So it's like the feeling is so good. It's like being in the cuddling with a lover, your wife or husband. It's just warmth and comfort.
How are you using biomats for patients in your clinics?
The cancer treatment using heat is very aggressive, meaning during the day, you sandwich yourself in between two of them, turn it on to high heat, and bake the cancer. The cancer will die before you will. No, this is, you can awesome. Go to England and spend $20,000 and use microwave a cancer out of existence. These biomats basically do the same thing. Radiation therapy for cancer is really a solid idea. Unfortunately, oncologists use the wrong radiation. They use radiation that kills you. This biomat uses radiation that can save your life and make your life more comfortable, keep you warm in the cold, and help take care of your kids and all, the list doesn't end.
Yeah, because isn't there some sort of temperature at which cancer cells will start dying?
Right, and it's below the temperature that human cells will die.
So you really like this biomat far infrared technology, don't you?
But it's strengthened me. Well, now the kids are addicted to it. They fight on who's going to sleep on it at night. And it not only changed my life, but it changed my medical practice and my books. This is a great machine for anybody who lives in the cold during the winter. Instead of heating a big house, you just heat yourself. Bottom line, it brings good feelings. Just lay on this biomat and it gives the strength back.
I can attest to that indeed. Kate and I love ours, and we think you will too. Learn more about these amazing biomats at extremehealthradio.com/biomat. Or you could check them out in our store as well. Again, that's extremehealthradio.com/biomat. I have to say, I have been absolutely loving this product by Tristan Truscott and Peter Ragnar called Good Morning, Good Evening Qigong. If you want to listen to the interview we did with Tristan, you can go to extremehealthradio.com/127. And Qigong is a great way to de-stress the body. And as you know, there's a huge component to disease caused by stress. And stress is a huge factor in how we live our lives and the amount of energy we have and the amount of vitality we have. And so, Dr. Shade, what do you think about Qigong?
People come to me and they're really sick and they got this blown out neurological system and all this toxicity. And I tell them, you need to do Qigong, Tai Chi. You need to do these things that settle down and restore your neurology, because it puts together all the parts. It puts you back into that state where you can start to detoxify. And so I highly, highly recommend all that.
And what about you, Kit Campbell? What do you think about Qigong? Do you like it as well?
Qigong is amazing. And the reason that I believe it to be amazing is everything here is energy. That is a scientific fact, if there ever is one. So when you're practicing Qigong, you're actually drawing energy into your body. Your intention, whatever your intention is behind any action, will determine the level of energy, type of energy that you absorb into your body. So your intention behind is very important, just like thought. So when you're practicing Qigong, you're actually bringing energy in and you're bringing out the stuff that might be a bit stale. With Tai Chi, it's totally different. The energy runs underneath the skin because it's more of a martial. This is the Chinese understanding, by the way. It's more of a martial art. So Qigong is very, very good for bringing that energy into the body, and just fantastic.
If you're interested in picking up this Qigong course by Tristan Truscott and Peter Ragnar, go to extremehealthradio.com/Qigong. That's QIGONG. And you can learn more about it. There's a great video on that page, and you can learn more about it on that page. And I highly, highly recommend this product. I love it myself, so go ahead and check that out. extremehealthradio.com/Qigong. Okay,
we're back.
We're back. We'll call Dr. Massey back.
We're offloaded. We're good.
We're offloaded. We have a little bit of time left here.
Good.
Okay, let's call it. pick up where we
Good
left
conversation.
off. All right, Doc.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Sorry, I apologize for that. That was just a little technical snafu on my part.
Yeah.
That's but yeah, I wanted to get back to what we were talking about in terms of like skipping the generation. And what were you saying, Kate? I forget.
Well, I was saying how interesting it was, like you said, like whether you're talking disparagingly or honoring about someone in the third person, or whether you're talking about them privately, like you and I, we tend to, nitpick our parents and talk about their weaknesses, and we don't celebrate.
Right.
It's not very honoring. And we just became really aware of that recently, where we're like, gosh, we feel like all we do is just find fault with people. And we're not usually those people. But man, when it's your own family, it's so easy to see like all this stuff that you think is
That's so true.
so wrong. But man, that is not an honoring way to be. And I can't imagine that's very healing for anybody involved.
Yeah, it was a shock to me to learn about these things.
Sure.
Our culture, I mean, the nicest thing that I ever heard about anybody's parents growing up was the poor things, they did the best they could,
Totally.
And that's the highest compliment that parents would get in college, it seemed to me. The sociologists were going and, So it was a cultural thing to criticize the parents.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, we hear that too. I mean, it's funny. Like, I feel like all my friends and stuff, when you try to work through, I have some really good friends, and we're very, I'd say we have some deep conversations, which a lot of people don't. But yeah, I mean, it always ends up with like, yeah, you're right. Everybody did the best they could. And it's funny when you're pregnant, everybody wants to give you this advice, and they give you these baby books, and they're like, there is no manual, and you just kind of figure it out, and everybody does the best and you're like, yeah, but it's funny when you're kind of I'm not saying like totally aware or enlightened or anything by any means, but when you are a more aware person, it is kind of funny when people say that stuff to you, because you're like, there's so many layers of this that most people aren't aware of,
Right.
So it's kind of funny going into it with, new little people being a little bit more.
It is, isn't it? And so in a family system, we simply want everybody to be respected and included.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the goal, and to just state reality. So my parents in biology are greater than I am because the gift of life came through them.
Huh.
I mean, they conceived me. I didn't conceive them.
Yeah.
Right? And that's kind of how that works. And when people have difficult fates in a family, like y'all's two brothers did, we want to make sure that they're fully included and respected. If people are not fully included and respected, their fates repeat in later generations. And so typically what I like to do is use an M wave and put an M wave on somebody, that little device from Heart Math. And I might ask them to just lie down on the couch and imagine that the pillow next to them is their deceased older sibling, and see what comes to them. And often these beautiful healing sentences and feelings will come up, and the person is visibly different afterwards.
Wow. Well, because who's going to take time to do that kind of, like, most people don't even know there's a needed healing, let alone take the time to do something that looks a little weird or feels a little vulnerable.
Yeah, and so much power comes back into the person's awareness. They just didn't have access to so much more energy.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. What do you think of? I find it interesting, and again, Justin, I'm not like throwing you under the bus at all, but like throughout the years, throughout the years, like he'll kind of make jokes and laugh, even though we know it's not funny, about how he was, survival of the fittest. I was the brother that, he'll make jokes about stuff, and I'm like, sometimes there's some truth in joking, but there's also just like a way of lightening a pain.
Yes.
So it's interesting that you could funnel that more into lay beside it and actually really lean into that pain instead of, most people do mask their insecurities by, joking about things. So it takes a strong person to be able to go into those moments, I think.
Sure. And there's a time for that, and it seems like when that time comes, we know it and we do that.
Yeah.
And then when it's not time, we do whatever we need to do to keep functional.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. To preserve, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's important to stay functional. We don't want, me or Justin or you or anybody sitting in a little white padded room going, I don't know what went wrong. I was reading this book and I did this exercise and now I'm not functional anymore.
No, totally. Right. Cause yeah. No, that's an important point though. Cause at some point, there's always going to be so many layers. You don't want to keep harping and dwelling on things that keep rehashing things. Cause then you're just a walking mess and that's good for nobody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why Hellinger's rule was you don't work with happy people.
That's such a good point, I think.
But then how do you know if someone is
truly happy?
Yeah, because there could be times when deep down they could be really unhappy, but they act like...
Well, someone told me I was angry. What did they say? I'm the happiest angry person they've ever met.
Yeah.
That was a compliment, let me tell you.
There you go. And so if you get to a place where that really bothers you enough to look at it, then you're not happy anymore. It's time to look at it. If you can just put off and you're happy, then don't look at all this. But this is just something you've got something going on that's been challenging for you.
Right.
You both do. Your brains are, I'm sure, just like, whoa, all lit up because the brain remembers every pregnancy for the last 3 to 4 generations whenever you get pregnant.
Really?
It just automatically replays all those videos unconsciously.
Wow. And so those are just sort of happening in the subconscious mind, like when you're sleeping or not thinking?
Oh, yeah. They're happening right now while we're awake. Our conscious awareness is like probably 10% of what's going on. The rest of it's just going on underneath. And unless we really decide to put our attention there, we don't notice it. So y'all had those 2 big events in pregnancies just in the previous generation.
Yeah.
And biology's working on finding an answer. And it works on finding an answer when like our parents or grandparents or whatever didn't find the support to fully express what happened. And so we came along and carry it in our various ways. And so there's something we can do about that is all I'm saying. And so that your children can be happy and so that your fibroid can have your permission to go away.
Yeah.
You see, your brain will loyally hold it there as long as it believes your mother still needs a super uterus.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because somehow, Kate, deep down, you are carrying that stress, right? Or you're carrying that burden for your mom, even though she doesn't need a super uterus anymore.
Right. And so, so let me clean up my language a little bit. So Kate, of course, isn't carrying it. It's her programmed brain that has it in there. It's like a computer programmed brain.
Okay.
It's not actually Kate. This was programmed in your brain by the time you were 1 year old, all of it. And so you didn't even know what a Kate was at 1 year old. So it's not you, Kate, that carries this. It's your programmed brain, your biologic program for survival. What did the family need? It needed a super womb.
So what did I become? That.
Yes. Yeah, that's what your program said to do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it will, if we knew all the math, we could sit down and see that it formed on an exact anniversary of when the problem started with the pregnancy with your mom and your brother.
Oh, gosh. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, that seems to hold a lot of truth. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure it has
it's
to.
just love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because when you look at all this stuff, you start realizing like a lot of people are focusing on, nutrition and that's, you obviously have to do that. And though that's a great way to, stay healthy and to prevent disease. But when you're looking at cancers, I'm sure, Doc, you work with a lot of people that are like coming in with different issues and different physical issues. And I can't imagine that any of the people that you see that have physical issues have no family issues. I mean, it's like with every cancer, it seems like there's always some sort of traumatic, emotional, spiritual issue going on, along with it. So it's crazy. So you got to start asking the question, like, what role is this a coincidence that every cancer patient has these traumas, or are the traumas somehow tied in and or possibly a causative agent here? Yeah,
this is good stuff. Y'all are just diving right in.
We try.
I told you don't do it if you're happy.
Yeah.
And here we go.
Yeah.
So, it was so shocking to me to see Dr. Hammer's work, that guy who did the Germanic New Medicine. And that's what really the recall healing is based on, is this guy's 40 years of work. You guys can hear me talk about this on some of the YouTubes that we have. But basically, when his teenage son died in his arms, he was a famous surgeon in Germany. He could not face it psychologically. So our brains are like magicians. They can take an overwhelming psychological stress and put it somewhere in the body in a way that metaphorically answers that stress. So Dr. Hammer can't sleep, he can't eat, he can't function. What does his brain think? This guy can't even notice if a predator's about to get him. He's a danger to himself and other people. He's not signaling when he changes lanes. He's going through stop signs. He's walking in front of buses. He's not paying attention. At some point, the automatic brain will take over during our sleep, and it will take that psychological suffering out of our brain and put it down into our body. So 6 weeks after his son is killed, he's got a lump on his testicle. He goes in and gets the biopsy. It's cancer. He goes to the place that treats testicle cancer, and as he's sitting in the waiting room talking with the people there, he discovers that all the guys there with testicle cancer have just had a child die.
No.
Now, he's a famous doctor, and he's never heard this. So he does a CAT scan of his brain and sees this abnormal place on his brain that's never been there before. And it's only in the part of his brain that operates that testicle. He did CAT scans on the other guys' brains, and they had the same abnormal spot on the same part of the brain that operated their affected testicle. When they were able to verbalize and tell the story of the death of their children from their heart, the spot on the brain cleared up, normal signals went to the testicle, and 92% of people had their cancer go someplace else without any treatment. He followed 40,000 consecutive patients over 4 decades, documented it all, and showed that our automatic brain produces things as a gift for the family. It's a survival gift, and it's designed to keep us alive during times of overwhelming psychological stress. So here's the other piece we don't get in medicine. A cancer of the testicle in the beginning makes a stronger sperm than your normal testicle. So what does an old man who's just had his son killed, what does he actually need? He needs a testicle that will make a sperm like he made in his youth, so he can have a son to replace the one who was killed. So his brain was blessing him with a turbo testicle to solve his problem. Every cancer is like that. And so when we go in and we start out with the idea that my body's a mess, God made me wrong, or I'm defective, rather than going, wow, this is some kind of Merlin magic that my brain has done. It's changed some stress that's in me or in my family system into a gift that looks horrible. How do I begin to untangle all this and get back to where I'm functioning normally, where I'm not having turbo function or low function, just kind of happy normal? And so that's where I'm coming from, is that all the systems of medicine that I know are starting out from the idea that there's something wrong. And when I looked at blood, I've watched blood now for 20 years under a microscope. It took me 13 of those years to have the courage to say, gosh, it looks like everybody's healing. Because I'd see the healing pattern happening over and over and over. And then it finally became clear to me it's the healing part that feels uncomfortable. So like when we have fever and chills, that's the body healing. That's not an illness. The illness was a silent thing that was happening because I couldn't face something. That's the illness part. The fever and the chills and stuff is a repair of what I had to break down in order to face the psychological stress and store it in my body. So when we go in, we have a couple of choices here. And this is the wisdom of pharmaceuticals, which may sound shocking to you. All pharmaceuticals are poisons. If you look up the etymology in the etymology dictionary, pharma, P-H-A-R-M-A, it means toxin, period. It's a poison. Every drug is a poison. But what do poisons do? They stop the healing process. If I'm dying from a healing process that's going too fast, I need a medication. I need something to stop that healing process so I can have a little more time and go like, wait a minute, what's going on here? It's like when a kid's fever hits a certain point, you're going to give them something. You don't want it to go too high. And yet the fever is part of the healing. It's not an illness. It's a healing reaction. But healing can go too fast for the amount of resources I have. Healing can go on too long and deplete my resources. So a lot of us have been caught in a chronic healing pattern. That's the vast majority of people I see. They've been healing and healing and healing and healing for 20 years, and they're out of nutrients. They're out of hormones. So we give them nutrients and hormones and they feel better, but it's not going to solve the problem. They'll feel better. But until that healing comes to a conclusion, we haven't really solved what's going on.
Wow. Yeah, that's so opposite, right, of what we're taught. And so I think that's why it's so mind-bending for someone to look at something like, I know you've explained a lot of times before on different shows, Patrick's show and on your YouTubes and different things where, a heart attack is actually the healing phase of recovery. And it's because it's so opposite of what we're told. It's like we're all under this collective spell of language and labels and media and all of this stuff. It's hard to understand, to look at a completely different way, but makes so much sense to me,
Yeah, I think I was slower catching on than you guys probably are. I really got indoctrinated. went to pharmacy school, then medical school, then residency and all that. And so I had a lot of years of it. I mean, when I first read it, I thought, this is, well, I won't say it. This is probably a family rated show.
That's okay.
You can say whatever you want.
Yeah.
This is crazy. The idea that the heart attack is the healing part.
Yeah.
And then to read Dr. Hammer's experiments with dogs. I mean, it was just shocking to me that he could clamp off one of the major heart arteries right up at the top. I mean, cut off the blood flow to a third of the heart, basically. And none of the dogs got heart attacks.
Wow.
And what Thomas Cowan, the guy out in California, reports, if you've ever had Thomas on the show, he's very interesting doctor, Cowan. He reported on that study. It was a very racist study, that followed, I forget how many thousands of black people who had documented closed off arteries in their heart, like big blockages.
Wow.
And they chose not to treat them, but just sort of watch them on the side, right? And after watching the people for all these years, over 50% of the heart attacks happened in the part of the heart where the arteries were opened.
Well, that's a trip.
Yes. So it's not the big arteries at all. You can have a completely closed off big artery and have no heart attack. It's those tiny arterioles.
Yeah.
And they open and close just like the pupils of the eye. We don't have to think about opening and closing our pupils when we go into different degrees of light, right?
Right.
When we look at someone we love, we don't have to go, okay, pupils dilate now so that they get the subconscious signal that I love them.
Right.
We don't have to do any of that consciously. It happens unconsciously. Well, these little arterioles of the heart, they open and close around fighting for territory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because Hammer could make the same dogs die of a heart attack by making them watch another dog take over their territory.
Mm-hmm. Remember, we heard Dr. Massey speak on that on the show. Remember that one time about the dog?
Yeah.
The heart attack, he gets out of a cage or something like that after being held.
Yeah, it's gruesome. Yeah, it's a gruesome story, but he showed that the heart attacks are what happened when we were in repair,
right,
after fighting for territory for a while.
And then you start to recognize that. We ever since we've heard that story, we've had many people in our lives that have had heart stuff or, pacemakers, heart attacks, and we go, we can see the story playing out that led right up to that moment of a loss of territory, of something that was just taken from them,
Yeah.
It seems to be really true.
When an M wave on people and they're sitting and talking, and I just start to say a few sentences like this, like, why would your brain make this on purpose? It's amazing how they go into high coherence immediately. It's like the heart loves that kind of talk. Like, why don't we be a Sherlock Holmes and discover how this is a love of survival response, a gift from our brain to our body? Why don't we discover that? And as we're off discovering that, the illness somehow disappears.
People just aren't ready to accept that. Most people, I feel like it's just everyone's run by fear, and that's the problem. Like Justin's mom's going through something right now with, her fourth round of some kind of weird cancer that pops up here and there, and but it's just like, gosh, you talk to her and she just immediately, goes, oh well, I'm scared. I'd like to believe that, but I can't go there. Most people can't go there because they've just told themselves that this sounds, like you said, Dr. Massey, it sounds crazy, it sounds woo-woo, it sounds out there, but man, for people to get real healing, and when stuff keeps coming back, you're like, what is going on a spiritual level? People have not done the work, and they're scared to do the work.
There's a lot of work to do.
This is why we have guests like you on to illuminate these kinds of options and
thank you.
Journeys.
And consider this for fun and amusement and just to wrinkle our brain a little bit. Imagine that when somebody has an illness, that they have it out of a loyalty to what their parents suffered with. And the reason they won't hear something that will help it go away is that they would lose their sense of belonging in their family.
Oh, interesting.
Because we want to carry that burden, right, for the older generation.
We're programmed to. It's our program that wants to carry it. And it tells us, if you don't carry this, bud, you don't belong to the family.
So you can see how powerful that would be.
Exactly. So it's really not that people are rejecting it on an intellectual level.
This is going to make some good dinner conversation tonight, because I just had like 4 things fly through my brain about our families that I go, this is something I've never put together before.
Yeah.
True.
Well, this is great. Doc, this has been so much fun. Man, I would love to do this more often, because it's been a couple years since you've been on, but where can people find you? It's awakeninghealth.com?
Yeah, awakeninghealth.com, and they can see some of the YouTubes there, and it's docmassey@gmail.com is the email address.
Okay, cool. And people can do some blood work with you and some nutritional advice and things like that?
Sure. And, Meridian does the homeopathy part and gets people wearing these goofy blue blocker glasses and things like that.
We're right there with you.
Yeah, that are good for people's health. And so, so they can find us there, and we have some wonderful conversations with people.
Yeah.
That is really, really cool. All right, docmassey@gmail.com. And next week we're going to have Meridian on, so that will be fun. Woo-hoo. And maybe we can schedule another one of these in a couple months or in a month, or whenever you want to come back. I'd love to continue the conversation.
Okay.
Yeah. Open
invitation. So just to show you how anniversaries work, if you look on your history of our calls, you'll find out it was April 2 years ago.
Is that right? Oh my goodness.
Yes.
No way.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
Of course we didn't.
So anniversaries are very powerful. So I've started circling the dates on my calendars of my parents' birth and death, aunts and uncles' birth and deaths, and grandparents. And I find that my body does better when I remember those days before they come, or as they're starting. So Meridian and I were out listening to Alison Armstrong's partnership tapes, and we were listening to her talk on sex, which is really, really good. And for the very first time, this is April 17th, just a few days ago, we're sitting out there in the grass in the yard listening to the CD on sex, and a snake crawled right by where we were sitting.
Oh, wow.
And I know. And so I've been looking at animal totems, and I have some Lakota friends and all that. And so then the next day, well, let me tell you this part too. Meridian had been groggy all day. She woke up and said, God, I just can't get going. I feel like somebody's knocked me out,
Wow, okay.
Like that's not, she's usually like the hills are alive with the sound of music, when she wakes up, and she just wasn't like that. And Mary Poppins was gone. So it was only after the snake thing, and I was Googling the meaning of snake, that I remembered it's the anniversary of her open heart surgery.
Oh, wow.
It was April 17th, and she really was knocked out.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
So it was 1 year ago? Was that when that happened?
It was 3 years ago.
3 years ago on April 17th. Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah, it's like these anniversaries come back. I got my appointment books from 2013 on, and I just started looking at them a few months ago. And I just noticed that people come back the same month, year after year.
That's so powerful.
I know. It's pretty amazing. So there's some kind of cyclical stuff going on. It's nice to notice it and honor it. And thank it for helping us out, even if we don't understand why or how.
Yeah, it's fascinating that we humans are intricately designed to be involved in the cyclical nature of the world and seasons and cycles of life and all these things. But we somehow, in a weird, bizarre way, we just sort of think that those things don't apply to us. And so maybe even just the little things like an event, some kind of small event, it's probably good to start writing things down and re-entering ourselves into the cyclical natures of life, into our family, and to like write down your parents' birthday. And I mean, that seems like a smart thing to do.
Last month I had a weird one where I'm driving along and I thought, it's so strange. Like I had this old boyfriend of mine that ended up committing suicide 4 years ago, and I hadn't thought about the date in probably. I remember the year it happened, the next year, and then I kind of just, forgot the actual date. And I'm driving along, and I go, I think today's the day. And I came home, and sure enough, looked up the obituary online, and it was the exact day. And I thought it had a way of finding me. It reminded me that it was an important thing to pay attention to, and that cycle came back to me without me even trying. It was so strange. I haven't thought about that actual day in like 2 years. Wow. So yeah, there's some power there for sure.
Yeah, there is. And let me just say something real quickly, if you have a minute, in case somebody's listening. In the family constellations, there have been so many thousands of those done now, show that most commonly suicide happens when someone is pulled to join someone on the other side. Someone who has died. It doesn't have anything to do with somebody saying a mean remark to somebody, or somebody losing their job, or any of those kind of things that we make up stories about. So I say that so that people can let go of guilt.
Sure.
And realize that there was a pull to the other side. And that's the person didn't find a way to have a meaningful conversation with that person and stay alive. So their only way to connect with them was to die.
Yep.
So, okay, tell the
this particular boyfriend of mine, it was a very serious relationship. We almost got married, and the more I found out, his father had died a week before he was born in a trucking accident, and his whole life he spent trying to fill that void. And that completely makes sense, and I'm sure that is so true with so many people listening right now. It's probably so much comfort.
Yes, and so you think about that mother who's a week before giving birth to him.
Of course.
And what it was like for her when he was killed.
Oh, man.
It's like what would be the answer would be for the family to be with him. Mm-hmm. And so this guy went to be with him. It's like acting out this desire of the mother to still be able to be with her husband.
Yep. Yep.
And so he carries it out for her.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so fascinating. My goodness. Hey, Doc, can people, when they contact you and want to work with you, can you work with them over long distance in some of these sort of emotional, spiritual aspects?
Sure. We've done a lot of those and worked with people's timelines and family trees, and it's been very satisfying.
I can imagine.
So they can hook that up by emailing you guys and trying to set up an appointment for that.
Mm-hmm.
That would be fine.
And I would encourage everybody listening to this particular podcast to go on to YouTube and type in family biology, because that's a really good talk that you mentioned, Doc, that you did at a friend's house maybe a year ago or so. And it's a good recording, and you have a good mic, and you do a good presentation. And if you want to learn more, I'll put a link to that video in this show page so that people can check that out and learn more, because this stuff runs deep, and it's, I think, at the core heart of
healing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we just want everybody to be connected and to feel that sense of connection in their biology and in their psychology and all their parts, and for nobody to be excluded, for there to be love and respect for everybody. So.
And everything, even tumors and fibroids, right?
Yes, and fibroids and snakes in the backyard and all that.
It's all connected.
We're all connected. Doc, thank you
that
so
was
much for
great.
your time. I will be in contact again because I want to continue. This is so much fun. I hope you had a good time, and thanks for doing all the work that you do. You're truly a pioneer out there.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And if either of you guys get a headache later from the stuff we brought up, it just means that brain program is healing. And so you just put ice on your head and rest for a little while. It should clear up.
Okay.
Oh, that's interesting.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, thank you.
Well, thanks, Doc. Enjoy the rest of your day. Tell Meridian we said hello. We'll be talking in about a week.
Yeah, we'll do.
Awesome. Thanks, Doc.
Thanks, Dr. Massey.
All right. Y'all enjoy.
Okay,
You too. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Kid and I have had our sauna for about a year now, I'd say, when we first got it from Phil Wilson. And it's an incredible machine. We use ours about every single day. Kate sits in about 20 minutes, and I sit in there about for a half hour. Usually watch a documentary, and it's extremely relaxing. It's really, really incredible machine. And if you go to extremehealthradio.com/sauna, you can learn all about it. We did an entire hour interview with Phil Wilson. You can check that out. You can look at the pictures of us with it. You can watch videos on that page. It helps you to sleep really, really well. You can lose a lot of weight with it. You can burn, I think, around 600 calories in about 20 minutes or so. It improves your skin, increases circulation all over the body, and circulation is critical for your health. You can prevent and reverse diseases with it if you have a cold or flu. It's incredible. It heats you down to the core. It heats 4 to 6 inches inside your body, so it's really incredible. And a lot of people use it for cancer as well. So if you have any kind of incurable, quote, disease, you can use it for that. And Dr. Shade is the foremost authority on detoxification. And listen to what he says about it.
How do I detoxify from plastics? I mean, you guys are using a sauna, and what does a sauna do for us? A sauna is great. It's moving a number of different toxins. Remember, we talked about the mice that if you put PCBs in there, then that made the mercurial that much worse. And sweating moves out a lot of plastics, volatiles, fat-based toxins. It's really good at moving those out, sweating those out. So that's how you're getting those out, and those are contributing to this synergistic soup inside the body. And so that's why they're good, is they're taking out a bunch of the different things in the soup.
And Daniel Vitalis, one of our favorite guests. What do you have to say about the sauna?
When you go into the sauna, like a far infrared sauna like you discussed, your body goes into a deep relaxation mode, and your sympathetic nervous system shuts down and your parasympathetic nervous system turns on. And when that's active, that's the nervous system, part of your nervous system that's active when you meditate. That becomes active, and your detoxification pathways open up wide. Why is this important? It's important because when you go running and you sweat, you're not necessarily eliminating very much toxicity from your body. But when you sweat in the sauna, you eliminate a lot of toxicity from your body. So sweating in a relaxed state is how we eliminate. The other thing is that what's wonderful about the sauna is that it puts you in a parasympathetic nervous system response, like as if you were meditating. So it's almost a hack. It's like a trick to get yourself into a meditative, relaxed state, to decompress stress, to reverse the effects of stress, and to get your body eliminating deep, deep toxicity that's stored in your body fat because it can come out in the oils of your skin. So I think, sauna is one of the most crucial detoxification, really health practices that we could take on, especially in this era of heavy toxicity, particularly fat-soluble toxins.
This sauna is really, really great. They offer payment plans because if you buy it through PayPal, it's 100% secure. You don't even need a PayPal account. I think you could do a payment plan through PayPal. It's got low EMF electromagnetic fields coming off of it. It's portable, so that means you don't have to knock down a wall in your house. You can just move it from room to room. It sets up in about 2 to 5 minutes. It's super easy to clean. All you got to do is wipe it down when you're done and wipe the neck down. And it produces energy and heat inside very, very evenly throughout the whole machine. All you have to do is sit in there for about 15 minutes a day. And the great thing I like about it too is it requires zero preheating. So you turn it on and you're starting to get warm. You're starting to detoxify with that far infrared light almost immediately. So it's really great. It comes with a 1-year warranty. It's about $990 plus $25 shipping. And that's really, really a good deal because if you look at most of the regular saunas out there, They are in the $2,000 to $4,000 range. So this is really, really a good deal. So check it out, extremehealthradio.com/sauna. All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that show. What did you guys think of Doc Massey? Doc Massey. I love that guy. We spent some time with him in Meridian, in their house in Austin, Texas a couple years ago when we went out to go see Dr. Stuart Nunley. He was awesome. By the way, just as an aside, I cannot recommend enough how important your dental health is and your oral pathology, and how important it is to keep good and proper dental and oral hygiene. And you really want to make sure to see a holistic, or sometimes they're called like a biological dentist. And for me, when I started learning about how like you can track certain specific diseases all the way up to the mouth, and there's a connection between the organs of the body, the meridian systems, and the mouth. And we had Dr. Bob Dowling on the show years ago, and he was showing some pictures and showing his research of like breast cancer, for example, and a direct connection to some dental issues that people had, like a root canal. And he would show the actual line going from the tooth to the breast. I mean, it's insane how much these things affect our health. And, if you're dealing with any kind of health issue, first thing I'd probably look at is your spiritual connection. Then I would look at the light piece, blue light and non-native EMF. And then, on the physical level, I'd start with your oral pathology first. And I can't recommend this guy enough. His name's Dr. Stuart Nunley. I'm not getting paid to say this or anything. I just have had such a tremendous experience with him. Kate and I went to go see him in 2010. I got all of my mercury fillings taken out in a safe way. Proper dam, all by high dose vitamin C, acupressure. He's incredible, Dr. Nunley. He's the best of the best. And then again, I went in 2015 to get 2 root canals taken out. And then when I was, what was I, 20 years old or so? Before I knew anything about any of this, I had my wisdom teeth taken out. Never once asking why I didn't have enough space in my mouth for wisdom teeth, right? There goes the Western medical approach is if something's wrong, just remove it. It's like, but don't ask any questions, right? Don't ask why our mouths don't have enough space for our teeth that are naturally supposed to be there. Just get rid of the teeth, right? So anyway, whenever you remove a tooth, you typically have what they call a cavitation. And that's when the gum actually grows over the pocket where they remove the tooth from. And unfortunately, they don't remove the ligaments that are stretch so super far down, and they leave those ligaments, those dead ligaments in there. And then what happens is they start to rot and they start to fester. And then your gum grows over that, so that becomes a protected area now for the body it's a tremendous burden on the immune systems to have these cavitations in your mouth. And so those cavitations can go all the way down to the bone, and then they can spread through different areas through your lymphatic system all throughout the body into the triggering organs that correspond to that particular tooth, according to Chinese medicine. And that's why you can have an organ go off and then it affects your tooth, and then you can have a tooth that goes off that affects your organ. So it's a dual sort of feedback loop. And so that's why it's super, super important to get your oral health dialed in. And Dr. Nunley, man, he's been on our show a couple times, and I just love that guy. So yeah, we went in 2015 and had our teeth worked on, and to me, it's just worth it. When you start understanding just how impactful your oral health is on your overall health, you start realizing, wow, this is really important. And so what we did is we live in Southern California, and we flew to Texas and said, you know what, this is just, it's worth it to us to go get the work done and, put it on a card. I think they take Care credit card. We just put it on that and paid it off over time. And geez, talk about worth it. So that guy, healthysmilesforlife.com, Dr. Stuart Nunley, go check him out. I would highly recommend him over any other holistic dentist we've ever spoken to. He's got a heart of gold. His office is amazing. They give you smoothies, and they do acupressure, and they treat you like a member of their family. It's just crazy. what a team they have there. Dr. Owens is amazing too, and the whole staff is just so great. So I would recommend, if you have any kind of lingering health issue, go get your teeth worked on. Make sure to do that, because that is just a constant. Like, let's say your immune system is 100% of your working 100% of the time, like effectively, right? If that's causing like a 50-60% burden on your immune system, now your immune system only has 40-50% of its available strength and power to be able to get on top of all the other environmental toxins. So getting your mouth fixed and, done properly is super, super critical. Sorry, but I went on a little bit of a rant there. So anyway, when we were there in 2015 or 2016, we got to hang out with Dr. Massey and Meridian in their home, and went through the whole blood analysis with them and just hung out, and it was a lot of fun. And Dr. Massey is just, I love that guy. So I want to share with you, a lot of times people ask me, like, after doing almost 600 shows, like, who's impacted you more with regards to your health journey and your health and healing path? And after talking to over 600 people, and I've been in this field since 2003, so from 2003 to 2012, I still am. I eat this information up. I just love it. Like, I just learn more and more, because there's so many more people that need to be helped. And unfortunately, our society right now is such that people are becoming sicker and sicker. Like, I just learned of a friend of mine from high school. I'm only 42 years old, and I have a friend in high school whose son, I think, is like 16, and was diagnosed a little while ago with some kind of cancer, and now he's on hospice. Like, this can't happen. Like, I don't know what, I mean, I just, stuff like that just breaks my heart, It's like, I just don't know why. I mean, I have some theories as to why, and I understand from a spiritual perspective. There's this idea of coming in with a contract and, carrying the burden of the family and things like that. But man, our culture is just getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And, long ago, I've let go of the idea of trying to help everybody, and I'm not really trying to help anybody. I'm just trying to put the information out there so that people can become empowered themselves, right? Like the old Chinese sort of lore is that when a person was sick and they were told of a particular herb that would help their sickness, what they would have to do is they would have to go seek that herb out, and they have to go find where in their environment that herb was growing. So they typically would have to go to like a medicine man and a guy who would educate them on this herb and what this herb can do. But it was their job and their duty to go out and to seek and to find that which was going to help heal them. And there's stories of how, according to TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, that when people would seek out these herbs, they would become more powerful for that person because they actually did the work. And so it's not my job to fix everybody. I've given that up a long time ago, because that becomes, just a very disempowering position, is trying to save everybody, trying to be the healer, right? My goal is just to get information out, and let people know that there are options for healing. Sometimes things you've never heard of before. Like we're talking about this in the Extreme Health Academy. We just wrapped up a members hangout for that, and we do that every week. We do actually that twice a month, and then we do a mastermind hangout with Dr. Bergman where we answer health questions. But what we were talking about today was like this idea that when we seek these things out, they actually become more powerful for us. And I think that's really important. And, we were talking about how in traditional medicine, like with the allopathic medical model of healing, you get like a handful of things, right? Where you get offered maybe drugs or prescription medications or pharmaceuticals on one side. And on the other side, there's the surgery aspect. And then if you have any kind of chronic disease, maybe it's like chemotherapy or radiation, these types of things. But what did I list off there? Like 4 things. But in the natural realm, you have everything starting at the top, which is the cause of all disease, in my opinion, is the spiritual, emotional disconnections that are happening. So you have all of that work, and that spans from family constellation therapy to recall healing to emotional freedom techniques to getting into success principles, like maybe the stuff that Tony Robbins talks about, or Jim Rohn, who are my 2 favorite teachers in that regard. You get into all of that spiritual, emotional connection, family connection stuff, and then one level down, you have the biophysics, which is the light component, which is where at least this sort of biophysics kind of dances in between the spiritual side and the physical side. It's that bridge that bridges those 2 worlds together, which is the biophysics, and that's all the light and the non-native EMF and the wireless technology and how our bodies are really electrical beings, and we're energetic much more than we are physical, right? So there's this process that happens called disease, but what's running that process? What's actually the driver that's causing that? In my understanding, it's always going to be a spiritual approach and a spiritual approach, as well as a family connection approach, an emotional approach. That's what drives these things. But then on a physical level, dancing in between the physical and the spiritual is this idea of frequency and light. And, that's the next level down, in my opinion. And then you get into the physical side. And like I was talking about before, you have, the dental and the oral pathology and the oral hygiene and how that connects through the Chinese meridian systems, right? So you have all of that. But then it's like we're talking about this inside the academy is like we have so many options, right? We have a whole world of options in each of those levels, in the spiritual, emotional, in the light piece. And then when you get into the physical, you have so many different things to work with. Everything from Rife machines, from energy frequency healing machines, to scalar technology, to herbs, to essential oils, to certain medicinal compounds like cannabis, from juicing to blending to ketogenic you have so many areas of healing on the physical level, that I don't know why anybody would go to the allopathic medical model first. But that's the problem, is we've been sort of brainwashed to thinking that men in white lab coats are the only people that sort of have all of this stuff figured out, because we've also been brainwashed to outsource our health to perceived authority figures, because God forbid we would have any kind of ability to understand what's going on with our own body more than some other person would, right? So as long as that other person is wearing a white lab coat, then, they must know more about our body than we do, right? So what I was saying a few minutes ago is there are a couple people who have affected me and impacted my own journey more so than anybody else. After listening to probably thousands upon thousands of interviews and radio shows and lectures and conferences and attending these things, and as well as podcasts and YouTube videos, I'm just a sponge for this stuff, right? So after not just the 600 shows we've done, but also my own research into this stuff, there's 2 people who have affected my own healing probably the most since I've come into this world. So before I came in, I have to say David Wolfe was a huge influence on my life, and he still is. I really love how he ties in success principles with natural health and raw food and all of that. Like, I didn't know anyone that was doing that before. And now you look at all these success people like Anthony Robbins and Jim Rohn before he passed on, and all these people are now getting into green juicing and healing and into health, So that's all, I think, the result of David Wolfe's work. But after having gotten into this whole thing, there are 2 people who have influenced me more than any other people, and that is Dr. Richard Massey and Dr. Jack Kruse. Because I think they're tackling the number 1 and number 2 main drivers of what this thing called disease really is. I think they're at the forefront of knocking at the door so that we can sort of take their work a little further and figure out what's really going on for us. But the drivers, in my opinion, for someone getting sick, and that's assuming, obviously, that getting sick is a bad thing. But that gets into the spiritual work, right? There is no good or bad. There just is. And so Dr. Massey is really tapping into all of that side. And I think that's at the top of the pyramid. That's at the top. and everything else is underneath that. The first thing underneath that, I think, is the light piece, and that's what Dr. Cruz is talking about. So in terms of influential people, Dr. Massey and Dr. Cruz, to me, are two of the most influential people that have impacted my life and my health and my journey so far, So I'm super excited to know them both personally and to have had them on the show. Multiple times. It's just an honor and just a blessing to help get some of their work out into the world even further. So just really, really excited to be friends with them. So I hope you guys enjoyed that show with Dr. Richard Massey. You can always contact him, Doc Massey, DocMassey @gmail.com. He's a little bit of a... he's probably listening to this, but what's the right word? He's actually doing it right. So when you email him, it takes him a little while to get back to you, which I think is really cool because he doesn't live on his computer like we all do. So, if you email him, you want to do some blood tests or work with you personally over Skype or something like that, it might take a little bit of time. He doesn't work on the same sort of time frame that most of us do where we expect a reply right away. So... yeah, just give him a little bit of time to get back to you. He's such a cool guy. Oh, man. So this was episode... let me make sure I have the notes correct for you, or the actual show number. This is going to be 580. So despite what I may have said on this episode in terms of the show number, it's going to be extremehealthradio.com/580 will be where you can get the show links to the sponsors and all of that stuff. And I did want to tell you guys too, we have a couple more products we put onto our store, and it's our products that allow us to do the show for free. So when you guys go to our store and support us, it's really cool. Like, it really helps support the show, and it helps keep everything for free for everybody else. So let me just tell you about a couple cool products recently that we put on. So we put on the Omica 12-stage reverse osmosis water system. That's the water system we use in our home underneath our sink, and that's the water that we drink because it's actually beyond reverse osmosis. It's actually beyond that. There's 12 cartridges. They're refillable and changeable. It's an amazing device. It also removes the acids from the water as well. If you do a Google search for acid rain and statues, you can see what acidic water is doing to statues. Imagine what it's doing to your bones. So you want to avoid acids in your water. So we have the Omica Organics. Really proud to be offering their products. As I've talked with Rafi, who's the owner of Omica Organics, off and on, and gotten to know him and personally, and having tested out their 12-stage RO water system under our sink for the past year, I feel comfortable about putting it on the store. So if you guys are looking for a really great water system to bring into your home and to allow your family to drink, I can't recommend the Omica enough. Their standards are just crazy. They're just crazy in terms of, like, they're such sticklers for everything being top of the line. So, and it's affordable too. So this is what's really great. So I would encourage you guys to check out the Omica Organics filter, water filter. And then the other thing I want to tell you guys about, there's a couple other products I'm really excited about. Actually, the molecular hydrogen. If you want to get access to the substance that you can consume that is beyond, it is the most antioxidant rich substance on the planet Earth, it's molecular hydrogen. We did a whole show with Dr. Mark Circus about the power of hydrogen and molecular hydrogen on the body, and it's incredible what it can do. So if you go to our store, we have that show embedded with Dr. Mark Circus. You can learn more about it, but there's these tablets that you can now put in your water that creates molecular hydrogen water, and you can consume this. And man, oh man, talk about powerful stuff. So make sure to check that out, as well as very excited. We've had Dr. Thomas Cowan on the show a couple times. By the way, with molecular hydrogen, we're going to be talking with Tyler LeBaron very soon, and he's the sort of world's leading authority on hydrogen. So we'll have a couple shows on hydrogen for you if you want to learn more. But we've had Dr. Thomas Cowan on the show a couple times. We're going to have him again about his book on autoimmune disease and autism and vaccines. And talk about an amazing show that's going to be. So stay tuned for that. But we're very proud to offer his products now, his powders in our store. So the powders are like these unique powders of green substances, the plants that are like very low oxalates and low lectins, and they're just powdered down and dried, so they're raw, and they're all these sort of heirloom variety organic plants and powders that you just don't eat on a regular basis or don't get enough of. So, having variety in your diet is super important. So if you're looking for that, you can sprinkle this stuff on your salad. You can sprinkle it. You can put it in your smoothies. You can consume this powder. It's not like a green juice powder. It's different than that because it's more savory. So it just adds an awesome flavor to anything that you're cooking or consuming. So, but then also the latest two I want to tell you about are the Stockton Aloe 1 and the Juve red light therapy. As many of you guys know, I'm really into using the power and the healing power of light. So the Juve red light therapy is, we've been using that for, good 3 months now. And so we just put it on the store. I really like the effects this thing can give you. And moving into the fall season, optimizing your light environment is critical. So you have to have, block all the bad stuff, all the junk blue light and non-native EMF. But then you also have to bring in more of those biophotons from the sun into your photoreceptors in your skin, right? So what you can do with red light, though, is it helps build collagen in your tissues. It helps to increase energy, and by creating ATP from the mitochondria, it helps with circulation. It's just an incredible healing light that I recommend to everybody get. Whether you're someone who is, trying to overcome a health challenge, or maybe you just want to optimize this spacesuit that you have for, 150 years, light therapy is going to be at the top of the list for people to do. So I'm really excited about this Juve red light therapy that we offer now. So anyway, all of that to say, thank you guys for checking out our store. We really appreciate that. And I do want to thank you guys too for supporting us on Patreon. There's a lot of people that are donating to us like on a $1 or $2 a month kind of a level on Patreon. And there's a link right on extremehealthradio.com for Patreon. And you can do that if you scroll almost down to the bottom. You set this thing up for it takes you about a minute to set it up for, every single month it'll come out of your account, and you can set it up to where you do, $1 a show or 50 cents a show, and then you set your monthly max, and then you can donate to us like $2 a month, $3 a month, whatever you see fit. And, that is another way of supporting the show, as well as buying through our Amazon link too. There's a link on our homepage for that. And then also, if you guys actually want product, there's our store, and then there's the Extreme Health Academy that I talked about earlier. So make sure to check both of those things out. If you want to join the Academy, let me give you a little coupon code. Let me give it. It is, let me make sure I read it right. EHR14 at extremehealthacademy.com. So the coupon code to use would be EHR, like Extreme Health Radio 14. That will give you a free 14-day trial, and you can check it out and learn more about what we have going on there and join the community. So anyway, all of that to say, you guys are amazing. I love you guys. We wouldn't be able to do any of this without your help, without your encouragement, without your support, and without you guys being a part of what we have going on. So we love you all very much. This was episode 500 and, let me make sure I get this right, I think it's 580. Yep, extremehealthradio.com/580. Make sure to check out our store, and make sure to check out the Academy. But most importantly, make sure to take care of yourself, all right? Focused, dedicated self-care is not selfish. It's necessary and required in our toxic world today. So make sure to take care of yourself, my friend, all right? All right, guys, love you very much, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode.
No material on this blog is intended to suggest that you should not seek professional medical care. Always work with qualified medical professionals, even if you educate yourself in the field of live food, nutrition, and